Salaam alaikum and good morning, everyone. I hope that you are all safe and well with the sort of inclement weather that we're having. So hopefully you're all safe and hopefully we don't get any further wind or rain during the day. So, well, welcome. I'm really excited to be here to be speaking to you this morning a little bit about the transition into the secondary school. And I'm joined here by Regent Raptor. And also you can see behind me, I have my a combination of work that's come across the school. And this is really important for me and the school, that we see that journey from children joining us in FS all the way through to eventually graduating in year 13 and onto university. So that whole school approach is so vital. But going from primary year 6 into year 7 is a little bit daunting for the students, but also for us as parents. And so this morning, I'm just going to go through some sort of rough areas, and I'm really pleased. Thank you for your questions that have been sent in advance. So I'd also be addressing some of those, and there'll also be an opportunity for you to ask any questions live online this morning as I speak, or if there's any clarifications that's needed. So for myself, there's sort of 5 main areas I'm just going to focus on in the next 10 minutes, and then I'm going to address some of the questions that have come in before this morning. So, firstly, it is being a teenager. What's that physical and mental impact? I'm also going to talk a little bit about the school support, but also crucially your support as parents and how that works and how we work in partnership. The career pathway. Okay, it's never too early to start planning. And we do that even in the primary school, looking ahead for that career pathway. What are the key skills in terms of the academic development, but also how we're actually operating in terms of the whole child's development. And then finally, just our school approach between boys and girls, specifically as teenagers, and their behavior and how things are going sometimes differ accordingly. So I just wanted to start off with that first one, which I know many parents, and I was speaking to a parent a couple of months ago actually now, in terms of about their teenager and the fact that when they were 8, 9, 10, even 11, they was very communicative at home, and they talked about everything they were doing at school, outside of school. But then it's sort of when they sort of reached that 12, 13, there was almost a slight change, okay, where they used to come home and they used to grunt. How was your day today? I'm off to my room now, or I'm going here. Okay, so that change, obviously, as we've all been through that change ourselves, is linked to there's that physical impact in terms of the hormones, physiologically, how young boys and young girls are changing, particularly from sort of 11 to 15, and as well as the mental impact, how they're dealing with that. Okay, and how they're dealing with those challenges. So understanding, and what we would do here at Regent is in terms of working with our parents to understand what are those changes. Okay, how can we as a school support to let the children know, okay, this is what is happening. Okay, this is why you're feeling this way. These are the things you should be thinking about, but also for you as parents. Okay, as parents, what can you do at home to ensure that you support the school's journey and your child's journey, because ultimately we want the best for every child. So that's the first thing, and there's certain things that we would be doing in school, whether it's through our careers program, but equally what we're doing for yourself as parents, running a variety of different workshops about how to deal with teenagers, sometimes those emotions, those behaviors. So although it may be frustrating for you at home, how is the best way to deal with that? And that comes back into my second point, linked to the main area of, okay, what is the school doing? Okay, what are the parents doing about working in partnership? And again, as many of you know, if you're existing parents here, we work collaboratively across the school, but also regular communication with the home. Okay, rather than waiting for something to happen, we are proactive, and if you have concerns, the school is an open door, and hopefully existing parents, you feel that, okay, from myself all the way through to the class teacher themselves, just to try and make sure we get it right. So nothing builds up, okay? And you're finding out as a parent in February that there's been a challenge in English or maths back in October, okay? You're finding out in October when it's happening, and then ultimately how we then as a school, okay, and with yourself as parents, can support your child accordingly. And at Regent, as with many schools, students come in at different levels, okay? We have students who are here, we have students who are here, okay? But ultimately, wherever they are, they're stretched and pushed accordingly. So, and understanding their needs and their needs academically, okay? There's a variety of different tests that we do throughout the academic year to try and check on their progress, where they are, what are we doing to make a difference and intervene. So if they're struggling in the subject, why? What are we doing about it? And then equally, what yourself as a parent at home can also do to support that. I use 3 words that ultimately is in my mind every day in terms of dealing with the students when they're going home. You know, are you talking to, as a parent, are you talking to your sons and daughters when they come home? Are you sharing your day? Okay. Are they sharing their day? And importantly, the last word in terms of encouraging them. Okay, what has gone well during the day? If there's been some challenges, what are we doing to support them as a parent, but also equally as a school? And there may be certain things that come up at home, okay, where you need to ask and get some clarifications on that. So please reach out to the school, and we encourage that communication to ensure that we are dealing with things in time rather than waiting for them to actually escalate further. So partnership is so important. And as all of us, in terms of our sort of parents' responsibility, we want the best for our children. So many of our existing parents here have chosen Regent for a variety of different reasons. But one of those is seeing that career path, particularly when we get into secondary school. And I always refer to it, you know, I had the Regent Raptor was here early on, and we still ensure that there's that sort of fun behind learning, ensuring that we've actually got that passion that the students actually want to do different things and experience of different things, okay? And ultimately, at the foundation of all of that, as you're aware, we are a positive education school, and the well-being of our students and our community is at the foundation for everything. If your son and daughter is waking up in the morning and hopefully they're excited to come to school, then ultimately they're going to do better in school because they're motivated, they're inspired by the teachers, but also inspired by the peers around them to set those challenges. So that making sure that that's right is so vital. But equally, making sure there's some clear goals on that way. So I mentioned as part of my third point is that career pathway. So it's never too early to start planning. And some of our students are very clear in their ambitions and their dreams, whether they're going on to study medicine, engineering, want to be a pilot, go into marketing, be a professional dancer, football player. Some students have that in their head, okay? And with that in mind, we obviously also can support them on that journey. But some students don't know and may not even know when they're 16, 17, 18. So what we do, we again work with yourself as parents to ensure that we get the right pathway for the child in terms of their skills, their potential, and the way the curriculum is managed is to ensure that it doesn't matter really. For example, when you come to year 10 and you're choosing GCSEs and or BTEC qualifications, what really you do at that point, because in the core of all of the career pathway here, students are doing English, maths and science. So if they're going to go into medicine, they've still got those sciences there. If they're going into law or journalism, they've got the English. And then there's additional subjects around that, geography, history, business, economics, media, things that they can actually choose in addition, which obviously supplement that core. But we obviously want to make sure that if a student has a certain passion, they obviously are supported through that. Some of our existing parents would have seen this week we launched our Think and Thrive sessions, where we're getting experts from across Dubai and across the world to speak to our students and getting our students to interview them about their experiences. So exposing our children to a variety of different job opportunities. What do they want to do in 10 years time? But making sure every goal is staggered, and they're supported on that journey. And equally for yourself, to support you as parents. Like I said right at the beginning, we work in partnership. The school wants you to be able to have the knowledge, so then you can obviously have those conversations at home, around the dinner table, at the weekends, in the evenings, just to support and frame the thinking for your sons and daughters. So that's that career path, really clear, really bespoke, to ensure that we get it right, okay, and our students are not disadvantaged at all. And part of that is those key skills, okay. So key skills in terms of the academic development. So we have a clear curriculum that we follow. We're following a national curriculum for England, going into GCSEs, and then some BTEC qualifications going into A levels at that point. And that's the academic development. What's right for your child at that point. But like I said a couple of moments ago, in terms of our well-being, our positive education, it's about the whole child. Okay, it's about their passions, it's about their dreams, and ambitions, and making sure that they have those skills as well as the knowledge. Okay, so are they able to solve problems? Are they able to think differently? Do they work well with each other? Can they communicate effectively with their peers? If they can't, well, how are we providing those opportunities for that? Whether that's through leadership, through project-based learning that we do here. So making sure the skills as well as the knowledge is developed through the secondary side of schools. So when they're going on to university, and many of our students go on to some top universities across the world, the universities, at the top universities, all the students are getting top grades, A stars, across the board. So how do they differentiate? Well, they differentiate because of the way the character of that particular child comes across. What are they doing to make a difference? What kind of skills do they have? What kind of leadership opportunities have they been involved in? Support for the community, how they operate in day to day. Okay, so we work here at Regent in terms of developing those core skills. And as you may or may not be aware, we have some signature programs that look at those core skills, developing certain aspects of things beyond the curriculum. Okay, so what are we doing in that STEAM and design thinking area? How are we creating opportunities for the students to think differently? Okay, from going into a DT lesson, building an object, designing the object in CAD drawings, making the object, to then coding the object, and working collaboratively with each other to ensure that it's successful. And whether that child goes on to do design and technology, that's great. If they don't, then they're learning those skills of collaboration. They're learning those skills of thinking differently, problem solving when challenges are there. So those key skills are so vital in terms of what we want to continue to develop here. And other things that we're working on in terms of the community, we have sustainability aspects. We've got students involved in the performing arts and the creative arts. So all of those things that do make a difference. It may be that your child isn't a performer on stage, but maybe they're there to support backstage, and they're there to support front of house for an event. So all of these little skills that in the long run make a difference. And when your child is having a conversation with a university tutor or admissions tutor, then these are the things that are coming out to sort of make that difference between them and the next person. And then finally, just the sort of fifth topic I talked about was that school approach between boys and girls. Right at the beginning, I talked about being a teenager, the physical impact and the mental impact. As depending on whether you're a boy and girls, there's different things happening to our bodies as we move through our whole life. Okay, but ultimately, how our boys and girls do that can also be different, and how we support them in understanding that, but understanding how they can then obviously move beyond those challenges. So we give certain different opportunities to our different students across the board to ensure that they get that right. And how that's done in terms of collaboration. So obviously everybody has the same equal opportunities here at Regent, but sometimes how it's actually done is slightly different. So there's sort of the 5 main areas I just wanted to pick up on initially. So I'm going to go to some of the questions now that came in before the session today, and then there's an opportunity for you to ask me any questions also live on Facebook this morning. So the first question, as it just come up on the screen there, is there any set homework tests that kids will have for each subject? The simple answer is yes. There is, we call it home learning here, okay, but there is a schedule in place so that it's balanced. But again, balance in terms of what students are doing in school and outside of school. What's really important to us as a school is that the child spends quality time with the family, okay, but also gets the balance right in terms of the academic side. So there is home learning set, there's expectations set. As part of our digital agenda here, our Fortes AI signature program, we're looking at areas where students are doing some work at home, but in preparation for what they're going to do in school, to help their thinking and help that stuff that will happen on a day-to-day basis. So like in most schools, tests will be happening, but more of a test to check learning, okay, and see where the gaps may be. So we do continuous assessment. Our parents and the children here receive every 6 weeks some form of report, but within that, there's obviously communication between the subject teacher and the students and the parents themselves. So if they've done a test, they haven't maybe not performed particularly well, then why not? What are we doing about it? How are we then intervening at that particular time, using that data to inform us and also to inform you how it works going forward? The second question that I've got on my list here, what homework or home learning is expected from secondary kids? So I suppose leading on a little bit, there would be a schedule in place. And as they move from year 7 to year 13, some of the work, some of the expectations for our students will grow, just like we will do in our business, in the business world. So you'll find in year 7 and year 8, there'll be a mix of different activities, projects that the students will be working on, things that they can share with you at home and to frame their thinking. But as they move up then in terms of GCSEs and A-levels, there might be more specific aspects. So sometimes the number of hours and commitment by the students after school can vary, but we would again stagger it. So when we're in year 7, 8 and 9, there's going to be less time expected than when they move into their GCSEs and A-levels. But I think crucially, ensuring that there is balance there and also stretch. Okay, so I talked about students being at different levels. So wherever that child is, what is the school doing to continue to challenge them? If the curriculum is easy, okay, what are we doing to support our gifted and talented students? But equally, what are we doing if a student is struggling in a subject? What are we doing to support them in that? So there's a regular home learning schedule in place. It's balanced. Parents are aware of what's happening and when. But again, if it's unclear, then there's an opportunity to reach out to the subject teacher directly. Third question, and I think I sort of touched on this a little bit as I was talking about sort of approach of boys and girls. So we've got here, this is a great question actually. So boys are more hesitant to open up. What are some of the ways I can use to get my son to speak to me and how he's handling the change and how it's affecting him? So again, I would just use you those 3 key words. Okay, so every day that your child, whether it's a boy or girl, okay, when they're coming home, make sure you've got an opportunity. We live very busy lives nowadays, but you have that opportunity, whether that's over dinner, okay, you're sitting down as a family, or there's an opportunity in the evening where you're having a chat with your son and daughter to talk, share and encourage. So there's a routine, okay, and this is part of trying to ensure that there's boundaries in place at home, just like we have in school, but there's an expectation from you as a parent on your children to ensure that, okay, they do come home, there's a set time for home learning to take place, but there's also a set time for family, okay, and to talk about how things are going, okay, what's going well, and what can we do if there's some challenges there. So ensuring that you're opening that communication channel. So even if you are getting those grunts, as I said at the beginning, in terms of how is day to day, what you'd be doing, and there's not much information coming from your children, then that consistency, the same thing, day in, day out, then eventually, okay, if it is hesitant, some people are hesitant to, they do that. Ultimately, they know that then you care, you're taking an interest in what they're doing. You're not just switching off. So take an interest, continue to talk, share, and encourage with them. And that last word, encourage, is so important, to really celebrate the good things that are happening, and also have the opportunity where there might be things that you can support them with. Next question. This is an excellent one. Any advice on dealing with rebellion? So I think keep calm, okay, is my advice, is the first thing to do, okay? Every teenager, we've been through it ourselves, as adults know, but it's a stressful time. How it was for us, for me, many years ago as a teenager, is a lot different in terms of what it's like to be a teenager now in the modern world, with the modern technology and all of the distractions that are out there. So how they're dealing with that, how they're dealing with social media. Okay, now social media, again, you will have your different boundaries and set expectations that you would have at home in terms of what they're using their devices for, what devices they have, parental controls that you may or may not have as part of that. Again, the school, we support you in understanding that, what you can and cannot do. But importantly, when your child is under stress, they are going to react. They are potentially going to be rebellious and want to do things that is against the norm. So how do you deal with that? It's about staying calm, understanding what is going through your child's mind as much as you can, and looking at solutions and offering them, saying, well, what is the solution? I understand you're upset. What are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? Okay. And how you as a family can support them. But equally then, if there's certain aspects that happen at home, reaching out to the school. As you're aware, here at Regent, we have an extensive wellbeing support counselling system in place, careers as well as the student counselling. So if the school is able to support that in any way, then we're more than happy to do that. But stay calm, keep those communication channels open, and as a result, things I'm sure will be a smooth one. Naturally, we all make mistakes. Students will make mistakes. There will be times where there has to be some boundaries and barriers, and they will step across those. So being clear in terms of, okay, these are the consequences of your actions. So they're learning to see that actions, as we all know, have consequences. But stay calm, don't be reactive, because ultimately sometimes that's what they're looking for, a reaction. And if you're coming back to them with that support, then that's going to make a big difference. Okay, on to the next question. We're rattling through these, and I know there's a few more questions that have come up as I've been talking. So how do you instill a better work ethic in children as they progress to the higher grades? I think I sort of touched on this a little bit, but offering a structure. Okay, structure is so important. Okay, planning. Okay, if I give you a quote from, I spent a bit of my time in India, and I was very lucky to spend some time with some of the top cricketers in the time. The last World Cup in 2010, ended up interacting quite a lot with Sachin Tendulkar. And that time, one of the things that he said to me, I remember very clearly, okay, and we were talking about success in sport, okay, and he said, winning is important, but planning to win is vital. So that plan, that thinking beforehand is so crucial. And this applies to education, okay? To ensure that at home, there is a structure at home in terms of the environment where your children can study, and the environment where they can relax. So it's distinct from each other. And there's expectations of what they can do and when they can do it. And when they're going out to spend time with their friends, whether that's weekend or during the week. But again, working that out and communicating with them on those expectations. The school will be letting you know about what's required and by when, all of the relevant deadlines in place. But it's again creating that toolbox for the students to ensure that they can deal with the tougher times as they move through to GCSE and A level. But that structure at home, they have a structure in school, is really important. So set those boundaries and make sure there's a structure in place. Next question, and we're rattling through there. I'm just looking at the time, 5 minutes to go, so you're doing really well. How's this transition to secondary have mentally and physical have impact on our kids? So again, I touched on this right at the beginning. Physically, there's lots of hormones flying around in your sons and daughters' bodies at this particular time. So understanding that, staying calm, making sure communication channels are open, okay, at all times, to let them know that you're there to support and you care and you do love them, okay, and you want to make sure they get the best for them. And then when there's challenges, mention social media and the challenges out there when they may or may not be on a variety of different mediums. You may not be aware of a variety of different mediums that they are on. Okay, so trying to make sure those communication channels are there, so then they can reach out to you when is needed, and how they deal with stressful situations. If they're falling out with their friends, or they've had a bad day at school, or they've done bad in a test, or they've done well in a test. How are we sort of dealing with that? But that communication and keeping those communications channels is really vital, as I've already said. Next question. Where do you see Regent as a school 2 years from now? So as you're all aware, I joined last year, and part of my joining here was to look at that development now in the secondary phase, moving up. And I think Regent is, as I've said to many of our existing parents here, it's an extension to your family. Okay, we're here to work with you and to be part of your family. The nature of Regent is that we're never going to have lots of children in many classes. It's very much a bespoke and a sort of way of actually ensuring those opportunities are there for all of our students, really bespoke and leveled in. So currently we've started, we've got year 7, 8, 9 and 10, and this year with our year 10s, we've just got one class at the moment, and that's part of that bespokeness for those children. Okay, and they've had opportunities to do, as well as their GCSEs, some BTEC qualifications. They've got more leadership opportunities, community opportunities. We've had some of our students already as part of our Think and Thrive series, interviewing some top people across the world. So those opportunities are there. And I want to ensure, in terms of the Regent's vision, is that we continue to keep that bespoke, personalized learning approach all the way through to year 13. So when they're obviously applying for university, universities can see that growth. They can see they've had those opportunities for that. And I can obviously continue to see the school growing from strength to strength. And equally, we've invested, and I'm really grateful for our board who invested money as well as time into ensuring that our infrastructure also is upgraded, and ensuring that we have, as well as the right people, okay, we also have the right infrastructures in place to create those opportunities for a positive learning environment for the students to be successful. Okay, I think 2 maybe questions left on my list. A couple have come in as well. So will children get to meet their class teachers before? How you introduce new subjects to children? Yes and yes. So we do a really thorough and rigorous induction program for our year 6s. We also, from students who are joining us from outside of Regent, some induction days, so they meet the teachers, they experience what a secondary class is like, going to a science lesson, doing an investigation, meeting the English teachers, meeting the maths teachers, so that they're aware of some of the differences, moving from, let's say, a primary side of thing, where they're going pretty much with the same teacher most of the time, except for specialists, where how are they going to deal with moving from class to class? How are they going to deal with suddenly 8 teachers rather than maybe 2 or 3 teachers? So we ensure that that experience is there, but also ensures that they feel that they're supported, okay, and they understand, and equally for you as a parent. So there's parent sessions also to support you through that growth. And I think a couple of more questions left. Just see this one. Students of year 6 should be informed of all the changes they will be facing next academic year. When and how is this going to be communicated to them directly? So for our year 6, we start planning after January time, okay, and there'll be opportunities from January all the way to June for information from myself and also their parents, to ensure that they are informed about what's happening and when it's happening. And if there's any questions about curriculum, if there's any questions about teachers or what the opportunities here at Regent, then that's a very clear, structured event happening for them. Okay, I'm not too sure if there's any questions. Oh, they're still coming in. That's excellent. Great. From which year does Regent start career activities for students? Even as young as year 5 and year 6, we're talking about different types of careers. And that might come up in our social studies lessons. At the moment, with Expo 2020 have just started. We're doing events linked to Expo, the future, different jobs that might be out there in 10, 15 years' time that are not there now. So we're always talking about it. We're always looking at those ambitions. But there's a structure in place, particularly when they get to secondary, that we do a bit of psychometric testing to see what skills that they may have, which may lead to different careers. We have our experts coming from outside that talk to the students. When they get a little bit older, we've got universities, colleges that will come in at the moment virtually and speaking to our students about what opportunities are there, what's the admission process. So again, a clear structured career pathway for our students, pretty much from year 5 going upward, and obviously phased in. Just seeing if any more still coming in. Excellent. Communication, not overstepping. Worked up if parents overstep. How do you know their boundaries? So I think I've sort of touched on this a little bit. Stay calm. Keep those communication channels open, because as parents, we also make mistakes. Okay, so making sure that you work together on that, and offering those clear boundaries. How do you know their boundaries? You may not know. One day it may be different to the next, but I think in communication with your son or daughter, trying to work out what those boundaries should be, okay, for the family, let alone for them. And again, like anything, rewards and recognition of what they're doing well, and as a result, some of those boundaries, if they're going out the weekends, some of those things might be either consequences of them not doing well or benefits of them doing well at school, or what they're doing in life in general. So I think, again, it's keeping the communication channels open. As a school, we're open to support parents as part of that journey. I think that was a couple of last questions came in. So I think just to conclude really, and one of the questions there talked about Regent as a school and where we're going to be in 2 years' time. For myself, it's about continuing that journey, continuing that foundation of well-being, so that what really is about is about the people. And here at Regent, we've got some outstanding teachers who are there to inspire the young people here, and ultimately it is about the people and those opportunities. And we continue to grow that to be an extension to your families, and the key thing for me from today, really, and some of the questions that have come out, is to ensure that you keep those communication channels open with your sons and daughters, and you're continually talking, sharing, and encouraging them. Thank you for your time. Have a great day. Keep safe and well.